What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another solo episode of Coffee with Dudes. First off, if you are not subscribed, make sure that you go ahead and click that subscribe button. We appreciate all the support. We drop them every Tuesday, Thursday at 6 a.m. Pacific time. And so we appreciate you always watching and listening out there. And what I want to talk about today is something to kind of just explore this idea. So a lot of the shit that I talk about here on the solo podcast as well are things that I struggle with. And it's more or less not me coming from this angle as somebody who's figured any of this out. I don't know if I figured anything out. I've tried a lot of stuff. I've figured stuff out for periods of time and then, like we do, fallen off track, gotten away from certain things. It's life. So we're always kind of rolling through life and, we're doing great some days, we're doing not as great some days, and trying to stay somewhat here on this roller coaster where it's easy to just follow the highs and lows. And, something I think about often and have been thinking about a little bit recently is like, how much grace should we give ourselves in this journey? Because grace is like kind of like leeway, right? In a way. Because I know at certain parts of my journey, I've given myself absolutely no grace where I'm like locked in, disciplined, like need to do this every single day, or else like I'm a failure, so, and then like when I fall off, like beating myself up and, binging on like sweets and everything in sight and just kind of like thinking that the whole world was falling apart because I missed out on my workout or missed out on hitting 10,000 steps or whatever it may be. And so, through my journey, I figured out that's not the answer, right? Like it's not the answer to beat ourselves up about these things. I don't think that helps at all. Having the discipline and like doing our best to hit certain goals for the day. And, for example, like I try to go on a walk every day if I can. I don't get every day. Sometimes on the weekends, I'll get like one of the 2 weekend days or whatever. And in the past, I would have been like, oh, I'm going to gain a bunch of weight. Like I'm a failure. I'm not going to move forward. Now I don't really care that much. I'm like, you know what? Like it is what it is. Like I'm going to get a walk in tomorrow and I'll be back on track. Right. But I think I sometimes struggle too now in the place that I am in life with the opposite side of giving myself too much grace, where it's like allowing myself like too big of a rope where it's like, like kind of do whatever you want to. And so where it's like, I don't really care as much about something. And I actually like that side more in a sense to where it's less stressful because it's not fun when you don't achieve things and you just beat yourself up and call yourself a piece of shit and whatever it may be. But also the other side of the coin, it's tough to achieve goals when you give yourself such a long leash and so much grace. So we got to try to find the middle ground, which is very, very difficult. It's going to differ from person to person as to what works for you. But I know that I don't even know if I have the answer to this. It's more or less me kind of begging the question of like where should it be, and like and I think that for me it's like being regimented and having things that I want to do. But again, like the thing that we need to think about too is like every week is a little bit different. Like which is why we always talk about like meeting yourself where you're at and like adjusting goals accordingly. Like there might be some weeks where you have no time to do things. And if you continue to have the same expectations for what you're going to do on a daily basis, you're just going to fail. Right in your eyes, you're going to be failing on that stuff and you're not going to move forward. Whereas like in those weeks, if we can adjust our expectations from, let's say, getting 10,000 steps in a day to just getting a walk in every day. Maybe that week it's got to be like, I can't get 5 workouts in. I'm not going to have the time. I'm so busy with work and, the kids and everything like that. So let's hit 3 workouts from home. It's like, what can we do to adjust? And I think that's a form of grace too, where it's like understanding that we don't have to just set these expectations and these daily habits for ourselves, and then we can't waver from those things. It's growth to be able to understand that like every month's different. There's seasons of life where I'm going to be a lot busier with work and with my family and with different things that I'm being asked of. And in those periods of time, like maybe I need a little bit more grace. Like I need a little bit more grace. And maybe that grace is just understanding that I don't need to continue to strive for these crazy like goals that when I didn't have anything going on, I was able to hit no problem every single week. And so I think that is where I've come to where it's like maybe that's what grace means. Maybe that's what grace means. Um, Grace could be doing like giving yourself the day off that you need from the gym and doing it without any guilt, right? It's like understanding your body, like, and understanding that this is what you need this week. Maybe you need a week off from the gym. Like your body's just been running to the ground. You've been working your ass off, pushing really hard in like all aspects of life. And this is what you need for recovery is just a week where your body isn't being taxed. And not to say you don't move, you still go on walks, you still do this and that, but that you can still make progress and you're probably going to make the best progress there. And so I think that, I had no ideas of where this podcast was going to go today. Honestly, I was like, let's just talk about grace. Let's see where it goes. And I think I've kind of talked myself into a pretty decent podcast of like understanding a little bit more about where I'm at and understanding about where I really want to be in terms of the leeway I give myself and the grace and everything. And to be honest, I'm in a pretty good spot. I work out, 5 days a week. I've been trying to go to the gym at least 2 to 3 of those days and doing the other 2 to 3 days at home. I go on a walk every single day. And now the weather's getting a little bit nicer in the morning. So the walks are even better and more comfortable. Marissa and I are going to start going hiking again now that we can, finally get out of the house a little bit more. And the weather's kind of getting below 100 degrees here in Phoenix. And so I like that things are moving in the right direction. I still eat, about 70% quality foods now. Now it's like Halloween time, so all this candy's coming out. So I do eat a little bit more there, but I don't beat myself up about eating candy like I did before, which is again a good piece of grace. It's like, which I don't eat as much as I have in certain periods of time either. But it's like just understanding like we don't need to beat ourselves up. Like we can learn from things. Like I think that's another form of grace is like learning from your mistakes or like the things that you did that you weren't, you didn't want to do. You're like, I didn't want to eat that much candy. It's like, well, you know what? I can't change it, right? Just understanding that we can't change the past. We can't change what we did yesterday or last week, but we can learn from it. Try to set different little standards or set different expectations, try to set different habits, try to adjust those habits accordingly. And that is going to help us the next time to get a little bit better. Maybe we can set our environment up in a different way that we don't have as much access to sweets. There's a lot of things we can do to help us move forward. And I think that grace plays a big piece of the puzzle in allowing us to really push in that right direction and not have as many setbacks that really derail us. And so I really hope that this one was helpful for you. Again, all that we ask from you guys every week is that if you do vibe with the episode, if it does hit for you, if it is helpful in any single way, just send it to somebody that you know, somebody that you love, somebody you think could benefit from the podcast. Really, really appreciate you taking some time out of your day to watch even just a little bit of this podcast. And hope you have a great rest of the day. We'll be talking to you soon.